Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from Am I the Butthole Roommate Bestie, who says, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband he knew what he was signing up for before he married me? My husband, 38 male, and I, 36 female, have recently got into a conflict over my closeness to my best friend, 36 female. I've been friends with Anna, fake name, since we're in kindergarten, and we even went to the same college. After college, we moved into a nice one-bedroom apartment together to save money. As we grew and got our funds together, we invested in a 3-bedroom and 2-bath house that we renovated together. We've lived there together for 5 years now. 4 years ago, I met my husband and we instantly clicked. After a few weeks, he met Anna, and over the 2 years we dated, we all hung out several times together. He proposed and we ended up talking about our future. Rob, fake name, wanted us to move in together, but I didn't want to move out of my house into an apartment, and he couldn't afford to make the investment in a house together. I talked to Anna and Rob moved in with us a couple of months after. After we got married, he talked to me about how my friendship with Anna made him deeply uncomfortable. I'm very close with Anna and there are no filters when we talk together. We have sleepovers sometimes and go out on little dates, but that's how we've always been. Rob has never previously voiced discomfort with how we are despite knowing us for 4 years. I think he is only doing this because I recently told him how Anna confessed her love for me when we first bought the house together. I got angry when he said this and told him this is what he signed up for, and if he had a problem with it, then he should have told me years ago. I love my husband deeply, but I'm not willing to get rid of Anna just because he's insecure. We have been distant for a few days, and I feel I shouldn't have been blunt, but it is the truth. I don't know what to say, and I'm starting to feel bad. I think I might be the a-hole due to how he's reacting. And as always in the comments, OP replies to some of them to give some additional information. So Initial Cry 8812 says, so Anna is in love with you, and presumably has been for a very long time. Has she expressed interest in anyone else or moved on or anything? Did you make it clear that you were not interested in her when she confessed? I understand where your husband is coming from. You are closer to her than you are to him, and she's in love with you, and you go on dates and you sleep over. You are infinitely closer to her, and if Anna is still hanging on the possibility of you two being together, I get why he would feel insecure. OP says when Anna first confessed, we sat down and talked about it. I expressed to her that I saw her like a sister, was absolutely not interested in anything more. She took it hard for a couple of weeks, but went on a date later and got into a few relationships since. Our friendship was strained for a bit, but returned to the sister type of bond again. Initial Cry says, and you told all of this to Rob too, to which OP says, yes, it was a night where there was 2 of us just sharing stories, and I honestly didn't think much of it. Rob also talked about past love stories, so I did the same. I really did not think we would end up in this situation based on our light-hearted conversation. Throwaway for Reddit asks, info. You said Anna said she was in love with you. Has she made any romantic steps towards you? And if yes, do you share these feelings? And if that happened, have you told your husband about any of that? OP responded and said, no, she has never made any romantic moves towards me. Anna confessed 6 years ago, and honestly, based on how we dealt it, I didn't believe it would impact any future events. I do not share any romantic feelings towards her and look at her like a sister. She had a very tough family life, and my family basically took her in as their own. OP continued, well, this is very unexpected. I'll be having a talk with my husband after he gets home from work, and depending on how it goes, a talk with Anna. I've always just thought of Anna as someone I want to have by my side forever, but I understand how this could be interpreted. I honestly think she's my soulmate, but I need to establish boundaries to better prioritize my husband since he feels this way. Then Flying with Alien says, you're the a-hole. Why didn't you marry Anna? You have a deep commitment with her, but honestly, marrying your now husband was kind of a low blow. You're not giving either of them the full relationship with you that they both desire, and that is just insanely selfish. Pick one. OP responds saying, I was afraid. My family is Jamaican and I knew I would instantly get disowned. I do love her, but I never viewed a gay marriage as anything possible for us. I sat her down to have that talk after the conversation to explain all of this. The conclusion we basically came to was that if we couldn't have each other, we could at least stay by each other's side. When I met my husband, he was everything I wanted in a man. I am in love with Rob and I can't imagine divorcing him, but I just can't throw away Anna. I can tell Anna has moved on and has even got into a few serious relationships that didn't work out, but she's over me. And at first coming into this one, I thought it was just going to be a story about a real friend relationship and the husband not liking it. But the fact that you said Anna confessed her love for you, you go on dates and sleepovers and stuff, yes, of course that's going to make Rob feel uncomfortable. There's someone that's had feelings for your partner, at least in the past, and confessed their love to you, and you don't know how they're feeling now. And yes, absolutely, they may have moved on, of course. But at the same time, there's absolutely no boundaries in place. You say that you're sleeping over, you're going on dates. And I absolutely understand that they're very, very close friends. That's going to be difficult. But at the same time, it feels like those boundaries are pretty blurred right now. To me anyway. But OP does come back in to update the post, which says, "We finally sat down to have the talk. The first thing I did was apologize to him, and I told him to be honest with me. He ended up crying, so it wasn't the most productive talk, but we will definitely talk some more another time. He told me that he was nervous of how close we were and was afraid I would leave him for Anna. I just wanted to start afresh, so I told him about the full talk we had when we bought the house. He said he was willing to have Anna by our side if it meant we could stay together. He told me he knew how we were, but he didn't expect to feel so lonely in his own marriage. He doesn't feel secure and wants my relationship with Anna to be more transparent. I think when he first found out Anna confessed feelings to me, it felt more like a real possibility. I'm feeling terrible. I finally see how much this is affecting him. A talk with Anna is definitely needed, and I plan on booking couples counseling. It's been a night of just us cuddling and me reassuring him. I didn't expect him to say everything he has tonight, but I'm glad we were making a step forward to a happy future. I don't even know what to say to Anna. I don't know where this will go, but I'll try to update eventually. Thank you all you kind people who messaged me privately." And unfortunately, that was the last edit to that post. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this one. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a positive future for that one. I don't know. How about you guys? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Glittering Earth 174, who says, "Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he has nobody to blame but himself for our dad being cold to him? My 21 female brother, 16 male, and I's parents are getting divorced. This isn't really a shock to either of us. 6 months ago, my brother asked if we could hang out, and when we did, he shows me a picture on his phone. It was divorce papers he'd seen in our dad's car. I told him straight up it wasn't any of our business, made him delete the photo, and made him promise not to tell our parents. That lasted all of 2 weeks. He told our mother because he couldn't handle keeping the secret, even though the school has counselors and stuff for him to talk to. Lots of drama. My mother ended up being the one to divorce him, and from what I understand, got the better deal. Our father isn't taking this well. He moved into a crappier apartment than the one I share, and he's been really depressed lately. He's also started to get really distant with my brother. They've only spoken 2 or 3 times since hell broke loose, and even then, it was mostly just school related. I've been cold too, since it's either that or being peed off at him. I warned him to stay out of someone else's marriage, and this is why. He called me Christmas Day sobbing that dad wasn't answering his calls, and that he felt like a horrible son. I was out of empathy for him, so I let loose. I warned you to mind your own business. I wouldn't talk to you if you ruined my marriage either. You better hope he's the bigger man and forgives you, because I wouldn't. He hasn't called me since. Mum called me and is worried about him. She says he needs his sister, but I really don't care, which is why I'm wondering if I'm being reasonable here. Now yes, you're going to be the a-hole to me in this situation. Your brother's 16, he saw these papers, and they were getting divorced anyway. The papers were there. And I'm not sure what the relationship with the parents was like beforehand, but your brother has known these two together up till now basically. So seeing that paperwork probably worried him, it scared him, and he's going through a whole lot of stuff right now. And instead of when all this went down, your dad stepping back and saying, look, I need to talk to my son about this, and explaining to him the situation, he punishes him He withdraws from him, and you do exactly the same. Please stop punishing your brother for something that's not his fault in the slightest. And I know it's probably painful for you as well. Your brother's probably terrified and at the same time is having his family turn their back on him for something he didn't do. Ridiculous. But Demi says you're the a-hole. He's a child and his father has basically abandoned him. They were getting divorced anyway. Your brother telling your mother about the divorce papers didn't precipitate that. Why are you blaming him for the divorce when it's entirely your parents' faults? Me Being Tired says, are you really blaming your brother for your parents' divorce? He literally saw the divorce papers. Your parents were gonna divorce anyway. Your dad is depressed because he didn't get a better deal out of the divorce. Your brother is 16. How the hell do you expect him to handle the situation? Instead of telling him to mind his own business, you should have explained the situation to him or been an emotional support to him. You're the a-hole. I cannot believe you wrote all that and still thought you're not an a-hole. Left Car says, how'd you figure your brother ruined their marriage? One of your parents already had divorce papers drawn up. The other beat him to the punch and is antagonistic enough that you're talking about who got the better deal. Besides which, you weren't surprised they got divorced. Sounds like your brother had no real bearing on their divorce, so why are you blaming him for it? Seems like you're taking out your own feelings about a messy situation on your brother, who is evidently struggling and hasn't done anything except be honest. You're the a-hole. Journey into Pressure says you're the a-hole. Wow. Are you really that angry over your mum getting a better deal on something your father was trying to pull? Your father is depressed and isn't dealing well with something he wanted. Look, your brother told your mother because he felt he had to, and he was right. You're both punishing him for not letting your mother be blindsided here. I hope only the best for your brother and that he is able to let go of toxic people who thought he should have let his mother be served divorce papers without even knowing it was coming. Corgi Huntress says you're the a-hole. Look, whatever he did, he's struggling with an incredibly hard situation. Stay out of it. How does he do that when he loves your mum and your dad? How do either of you walk around knowing your dad is going to divorce her while she walks around blissfully unaware, only to get hit with it out of the blue? If you love her, you have to tell her. Once your brother saw the papers your father carelessly left lying around, he was stuck. This mess is on your parents, and the fact that your father is taking it out on him is revolting, and the fact that you have no empathy for him is tragic. Ozoku says, you're the a-hole, your brother's 16. You mentioned that if he needed to talk about it, he could have talked to someone other than your mum, and he did. He talked to you. You shut him down, and he had to sit on it knowing that his father was planning on divorcing his mother. He probably felt like he owed it to his mother to come clean, and perhaps he didn't want his mum to find out he knew beforehand and get mad. You should have talked with him about it, and if that didn't satiate him, then you should have urged him to talk to his father. And while I'm on that train of thought, his father shouldn't have left divorce papers where his son could find them before he got to talk to his wife about it. Both you and your father put him in a very difficult position, and his actions didn't deserve the harshness you gave him. These mycologist says you're the a-hole. He didn't ruin the marriage. It sounds like it was already broken, and all he did was give your mum a warning before your dad could spring the papers on her first, and she deserved to know. He's still technically a child, and it's unfair to expect him to keep that secret, or blame him for the fact that your dad is depressed or living in a crappier apartment. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? Put yourself in OP's shoes. How would you have dealt with that matter? And the brother too. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Something Borrowed 5, who says, am I the a-hole for loaning my daughter-in-law something that will one day belong to my daughter? My daughter is 17, and I told her a few years ago that when she turns 21, I will give her her grandmother's pearls. She is my only daughter, and I think my mum would want her to have them. I didn't want to give them to her right away though, because I was worried my ex would take them from her. She was fine with waiting until 21 and very happy that I promised them to her. They are, however, still mine. My son's wife, then fiance, asked to borrow the pearls for their wedding as hers something borrowed. I agreed and loaned them to her. My daughter saw her wearing the pearls and asked when they came back from their honeymoon if it was the same set. Daughter-in-law confirmed that it was and said she had borrowed them for the ceremony. She returned them before they left for their honeymoon. My daughter asked me why I loaned them, and I said I thought my mum would have liked them being part of her grandson's wedding. My daughter said she's hurt that I loaned out her pearls without asking. I told her they aren't hers yet, but they will be one day. For now they are mine, and I have a right to loan them out. She asked if she could have them now because she doesn't trust me with them anymore. I told her no, but I compromised and said I would give them to her for her high school graduation next year, when she will be 18. She agreed to the compromise, but is still miffed. Does promising to give someone a gift mean I lose rights to it prior to the gifting? I didn't think so, but what are your opinions? This could be one that goes all over the place. So Diligent Activity says, I think your mum would have liked to know that her pearls were worn in her grandson's wedding. Your daughter is being unreasonable. I suggest holding off on giving her the pearls to her until she's 25 or 30 to allow her to grow up more. My daughter knows that she will inherit my house one day. She doesn't think of it as hers right now and knows that I could decide to sell it someday. I'm not obligated to treat it as her property for the rest of my life. Not the a-hole. Disgruntled Pelican says, not the a-hole. They are still yours and you can absolutely do with them what you choose. Family heirlooms are typically well used. And it's not like you loaned them out to a casual friend. You loaned them to your daughter-in-law for her wedding. Dazzled and Confused says, not the a-hole. They're a family heirloom and they're in fact yours until you pass them to your daughter. I'm not quite sure why she's so upset. Have you actually discussed it with her about why she doesn't trust you or why she thinks they belong to her now? And OP says, the way she interpreted the conversation we had a few years ago was, these are yours but I'm keeping them in a trust until you are old enough to care for them. When what I actually said was more along the lines of, my mum would want me to pass these on to you and I will when you turn 21. Alarm Jellyfish says, no one's an a-hole here. In your mind those pearls belong to you. In your daughter's, they belong to her. And I do think you should have just mentioned to your daughter before loaning them out. What would have happened if something happened to them? What if she lost them or simply didn't return them? But I do think it would have been the a-hole move of your daughter to refuse to let your daughter-in-law wear them on her wedding day. I still think it would have been best to mention it to her beforehand. Ecstatic says, unpopular opinion, but you're the a-hole. You could have discussed this with her. You may technically own them now, but you did promise them to your daughter. You never mentioned this loan to her. It boggles my mind that people are calling her immature for thinking her inheritance would be hers. It would have cost you nothing to be mature and discuss it with her beforehand. Herding Cat says, no one's an a-hole here, but poor communication. I can see her being upset thinking they are hers and you were just keeping them safe, though you could have given them to her and kept them at your house so X couldn't get them, so that's poor reasoning to me. I'd be upset if someone lent something I thought was mine without asking. You had a different arrangement in your mind. And one more comment that says, you're the a-hole. While they are technically yours, you have promised them to her, and she has formed an attachment to them, and you disregarded her feelings because you didn't discuss it with her first. Being right and being kind are not the same thing. And the comments pretty much just continued like that. Not the a-hole, you're the a-hole, everyone sucks here, no one's an a-hole here. There was pretty much everything in there in that one. But what is your opinion on this story? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have one more story, shall we? And our next story comes from a throwaway account who says, am I the a-hole for threatening to take my girlfriend's car away if she doesn't get a job? So I've been with my girlfriend for over 3 years. We met at her old job, but she got fired from there soon after we started dating, failing a drug test. Since then, she's been jumping between different jobs. Apparently none were good enough for her, so she keeps quitting each one after just a few months. But for the last 7 to 8 months, she hasn't worked at all. She even stopped applying to jobs completely. Now for the car. About a year into our relationship, I bought a new car that I'm paying monthly for. Technically, the car is legally mine. The only reason I bought it was because at the time she had a 1-hour commute and her old car was crap. Even though the car and financing is in my name, she used to pay for it from her salary. But now that she's been unemployed for several months, I'm the one that has to pay for it. I also have to pay the whole rent and financing on my own car. I'm barely making ends meet. She only uses the car once or twice a week to go shopping or meet up with her friends. So a couple of days ago, I snapped and told her that if she doesn't get a job, I'll take that car away and give it to my mum. And since I said that, my girlfriend has stopped talking to me. And when she does, she's extremely rude and aggressive. I also just want to point out that I've even offered to find her a job. One of my friends is a manager at a small bakery, and he said that he could hire my girlfriend, but she still refuses to work at all. On one side, I feel like the a-hole, but on the other, I can't afford all those bills. So, am I the a-hole here? It's one of those ones where you see the title at first and go, whoa, but then in the story, it's like, absolutely not the a-hole. The car is yours, and it just seems you're being leached off of at the moment. If I was in that relationship and my partner was paying for all this stuff, barely making ends meet themselves, trying to get me a job at the same time, I'd feel so appreciative of that, and instead she's being rude and aggressive towards you. Hell, you said even your manager friend could get her a job at the bakery, which sounds like a great little job. Imagine working in a bakery, smell of bread every day. Wee. So basically what I'm saying is, what are you getting out of this relationship? Because it really doesn't sound like much. It sounds very, very one-sided. And I guess that's the bigger question here. It's not about the car at all, because the car is yours. But Nope says, not the a-hole, but seriously, where do you see this relationship going? Your Replies Dumb says, not the a-hole. You need to face the fact that this girl is a bum and is planning to leech off you as long as she can. Stop enabling her at your own expense. The fact you were willing to finance a car for her in the first place shows that you're a caring boyfriend, but unfortunately, some people will take advantage of any kindness they can. YMMV says, not the a-hole. Secretly hoping that things will change is not a strategy. If you want your life to change, you have to do something different, like moving out and letting your girlfriend fend for herself. I don't see how giving the car to your mum helps your financial situation. You were still paying for it. Why didn't you sell the car to mum or someone else? And Opie did respond and said, by giving I did mean selling it to her, obviously at a much lower price than market value. And one more comment from Legitimate Tower, who says, you need to have a much larger discussion here. Her actions are destroying both your financial situation as well as her CV. As someone occasionally involved in the hiring process, job hopping combined with long gaps in work history would be suspicious. I know there are many valid reasons to explain those things, but it sounds like it doesn't apply here. It seems reasonable that, in order to compensate for a lack of financial contribution, you would need to offload some of your burden. She is not holding up her side of the partnership. You also need to decide if someone who is this flippant about both work and general life responsibilities is a person you want to be with in the long run, not the a-hole. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, as always, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me today, getting involved in the stories, your love, support, and time, not just towards me, but towards the OPs, towards each other in the comments, towards the podcast, and people supporting on Patreon and YouTube membership as well. We're just absolutely incredible. I'm blown away every single day by your support. Please do not forget that. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care, and much love.